Welcome to Not Your Average Neighbor, the podcast celebrating inspiring individuals and the amazing work they do in our community. I'm Ann Roushar, your host, inviting you to join me as we shine a light on stories of resilience, connection, and good news. Let's build a neighborhood that uplifts and inspires, one story at a time. Hello, everyone. It's Ann Roushar, realtor with 360 Home Team and Keller Williams Legacy Group. And here is another fun-filled 45-ish minutes of us meeting an extraordinary neighbor in our community. Today, I am thrilled to be speaking with Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor first lived in Cedar Rapids. I'm going to just use my notes. Chris Taylor first lived in Cedar Rapids in the early 1990s. And he came to study at Mount Mercy College and made the community his home for 10 years after graduating with a degree in social work. After career moves to Des Moines and Washington, D.C., Chris returned home to Cedar Rapids in 2023, and we're so glad you're here. He's been cultivating and tending to his Iowa roots, reconnecting with family and friends, and developing new friendships like ours. Chris has devoted his career to public health and social justice. He has strengthened his commitment to advocating for service to the LGBTQIA communities, people who use drugs, reproductive health, newcomers to our country, and the need for criminal justice reform. He always remembers the values of the Sisters of Mercy to provide service wherever needs exist, and that has been a North Star whenever the path seemed uncertain. Chris enjoys spending time with his family and friends, volunteering for causes important to him, finding treasures at garage sales, which I'm delighted to hear that is one of your favorite things to do as well, and trying new things and talking to strangers. A saying Chris has posted by his door reminds him to go everywhere, talk to everyone, and eat everything. And he does joyfully all three as much as he can. So please help me welcome Chris. I probably need like a clap. So welcome, Chris. How are you today?
Thanks, Anne. It's great to see you. It's great to be back in Cedar Rapids. And I know you and I were talking, I don't know, a couple months ago about how did we meet each other? And, it seems like a lifetime ago, back in the 90s, in the last century, right? And
In the
so it's
1900s.
so I know we had some mutual friends and spent a lot of time together at social outings and whatnot. So some that are really easy to remember, some that might be a little bit fuzzy
Fuzzy.
because for a variety of reasons.
That's right. That's right. Well, that
So
is
it's great to see you having so much success and contributing to the community. And I'm just really thrilled to be able to talk with you today.
oh my gosh, thank you so much. I am thrilled as well. And you were on my list, but then it worked out perfectly when I saw you just a couple weeks ago at an event. And I was like, I'm just going to ask because if I don't ask, I'll be too nervous another time. So I'm so glad that you freely said yes. And we're open to this concept of celebrating good people in our community and good news because that's what we need right now. So I'm going to first, we're going to talk about the first thing that brings us kind of together as like-minded citizens of our community, and that is Chris Taylor, tell me something good.
So, one of the things, I'm going to make this a little bit about work, which I
Sure.
tend to do a lot, and I apologize for that. But I think it's something that probably everybody can relate to. Thinking back, a few years to when COVID first started. And,
Yes.
there was, everything shut down. People were, encouraged to stay home or were staying home because nothing was open. And as a result of that, for the length of time that people were really staying home, um, it caused a lot of feelings of isolation and loneliness and disconnectedness from from others in people's lives. And, there's a lot of study and data and all of that, which I'm not going to go into about what that has resulted in,
Mhm.
for individuals, for communities. People went through major life transitions during that time. We think about
Mhm.
kids, that it was their first going into kindergarten and it was a
Right.
different experience. We talk about kids that, were graduating from high school and missed all of those kind of more traditional lasts of
Mhm.
and highlights of their senior year, et cetera. People passed away and we didn't have opportunities to gather
Mhm.
and be there for one another. So then once everything opened up again, you know, a lot of people just jumped right back in and were able to, reconnect with people and, those skills never were not impacted at all. They were just able to connect with people and pick
Right.
up where they had left off. For other folks, it was a struggle because we hadn't used those skills or been in the same room with other people for a year or two.
Mhm.
And so, and I think that's still occurring today. People are still impacted from that isolation, the loneliness, and what it did not only physically to people, but some of the mental health struggles that came along with some of that. So that's not the good part, but
No, that was
but
remembering the bad news. Uh,
that was building
uh,
up to what the good part is. And
yes, yes,
so
yes.
one of the things that I really have appreciated about other people, whether they be friends or family members or just a stranger on the street, is when someone looks at you in the eyes and smiles and says hello, or how are you doing, or it's really nice to see you. And I don't always remember to do it, but it's so nice to be able to stop for a minute and make sure you are looking at somebody in the eye and you're smiling at them and you're saying it's really good to see you again. How
Mhm.
are you? But actually really mean it. How are
Mhm.
you?
Mhm.
Not
Mhm.
the how are you in passing and you just keep walking, and then if somebody is like, well, actually. So a
Right.
piece of it is really being present authentically
Mhm.
and in the interactions we have with people to be truly present. And that sounds simple, but it can be really challenging to
So
actually in the
hard.
moment remember, you
Mhm.
know, that why I'm here talking to Ann is because I care about Ann. And a way that I can show that is to really be here authentically and really be present for the time that we're talking to each other. So I've seen people do that really well, and it's something that I've really made a commitment to try and do better.
Mhm.
And that's always the first step, right?
Right, right. Recognizing it and then working on it to do better for sure. And I was one of those people that was dying, being feeling isolated. Thank God we were I don't know what the word is. The government found us as essential employees and workers in the community, which was a relief, not just because of money, but because my passion is being around people. Um, you were not here when this happened, but one of the first things I did when I saw this going down is I ordered inflatable unicorn costume. And I was like, well, if I can't see you or touch you, I'm at least going to come to your house and make a fool of myself and dance around in your front yard and hopefully make you smile and forget for 1 second that we were in a situation that was unknown, uncertain, and very scary. So that was kind of my way to connect with people when we were supposed to be away. Now, I know some of my friends were like, girl, you're going out too much, you're doing too much. And I'm like, mentally and physically, I can't not. And so that was one way for me to bend those rules a little bit. But There are plenty of people who I am shocked by that were also happy to be isolated and left alone. So I'm like, okay, I know your boundaries now, at least. That's something I learned about you. You don't want a big hug from me. You don't even really want me to touch you. Now, I'm going to try to do better with that. But inevitably, they get a hug, whether they want it or not.
Right, right. And I think this really transfers to not just COVID, right? I mean, I also think about how we have changed how we communicate, or some of us at a certain age have really seen how we communicate evolve, right?
Hmm.
It used to be, like actually on the phone,
Hmm.
right? And now it's through apps, it's through texting, it's through video interface like this. But one of the things that I've seen and unfortunately been guilty of doing on social media is more so in the comments than anything,
Oh,
is saying things that I'm not particularly proud of,
right.
right? And is not the person I want to be.
Hmm.
But sometimes you just get worked up, you get fired up, you're having a
Yes.
bad day, somebody says, the wrong thing. And I think that those are things I would never do in person, but
Right.
there's a sense of anonymity or safeness in doing it from behind our phone or our computer or whatever. And I think we've all probably been in a situation where we might have done that, but also where somebody might have done or said something to us that was not very kind.
Hmm.
And that's really tough, right? Because we've
Hmm.
all got our own things. And when it's called out, that can be really hard. And so, in a similar way, that people are reaching out and being more intentional about being present and authentic with people.
Hmm.
Um, I just feel like there's not enough kindness in this world.
Mm.
And especially
Amen.
right now or for the past few years, right? It's
Yes.
gotten very tribal and
Hmm.
very much um, antagonistic.
Yes, antagonistic is a great word.
And we don't always know until we
Right.
start having a conversation with somebody, right? Um, and so really trying to, one of the things I learned in some of the work I've done is a principle called meeting people where they're at. That
Mm.
that's really what we need to do if we want to gain an individual or a community's trust, if we want to have them be open to changing, behavior, um, or to share with us, what's going on in their life, et cetera. And I mean, that should be true of everyone, right? And sometimes it's hard to meet people where they're at because we want them to
Hmm.
be where we
We're
think they
at.
should be,
Right,
right? And
exactly.
so just because someone has different opinions or beliefs than I have
Mhm.
doesn't make them a bad person.
No, and I was thinking about this as I was getting ready, and I'm sorry to interrupt. That is my ADD. Please, I apologize.
You're
Uh,
good.
there are a lot of things that we all like communitively. Caitlin Clark is one of them. There were so many people celebrating her last weekend, and we all just appreciate her and what she has brought to women's athletics and to our community specifically. But we can all be in that room and celebrate that. There are so many things that bring us together that we take for granted because we're looking at the bad stuff. And so it's like, yes, I want to meet you where you're at. I probably write a lot of things and then luckily delete it because I know A, I don't want to fight, actually. I don't want to fight. B, it won't make me feel better. It'll probably make me feel worse. And that is a great lesson though. Meet people where they are at, not where you want them to be. So I just thought about that, like I said, when I was getting ready this morning, like, Caitlin Clark is a huge, like everyone loves her in Iowa for whatever reason that she has given them that safeness to, love her. And it's just, we can come together. We need to find those things and bring those to light more.
Right. And, sometimes people get into it with, well, but don't overlook like their political viewpoint
Right.
because, that might be about oppressing someone that you care about. That may be the case. And I would never say you should not have conviction about your beliefs, right? But we're not just about our political beliefs
No, we're
either,
not. We are
right?
not.
And by being kind to someone is not telling them, I agree with who you
Right.
voted for, what your values are. It's a basic, bare minimum humanity piece of
Hmm.
just being kind and acknowledging, I see you.
Hmm.
But
Especially
then,
when they are just more antagonistic, because there is probably something going on somewhere else in their life, and this is their way to vent. So I appreciate that. I love that message.
and And I'll say one more thing before we switch topics. But
Hmm.
I was at a work conference and they were talking about communication, about public health issues, and thinking about what we were how we were communicating about masks and vaccines and things like this. And he said, something that's really important for people to remember is we don't change people's minds by telling them how wrong they are, right? And I thought. That is so simple, but my God, that is really eye-opening
Hard.
to think
It's
about.
very
Right,
hard.
right. But I was like, but it feels so good sometimes to tell people how wrong I think they are. But it, but it is really reframed, and I can't tell you how many times I've had that conversation with colleagues about we have to think about it because what are people going to hear?
Hmm.
Even if we're not trying to say, what you believe is not based in science and, whatever, people won't hear you if you're not speaking their language.
Amen. And I don't know why I keep saying amen, like amen, but you're preaching to
I
my
didn't realize
choir
we were
right
in
now.
church, girl.
You are preaching to my choir right now. So I love that, and it's good for us all to hear. So thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing that. The next thing I want to talk about is show me your neighbor. This segment is kind of like spotlighting a community group, organization, resource that we feel maybe getting needs a little bit more love right now, I guess is what I should say. So, Chris Taylor, show me your neighbor.
So, about a year and a half ago, I was really troubled by some of the messages I was hearing on the news about people who were new to our country.
Mhm.
Whether they had come here through Ellis Island or were refugees or were seeking asylum, all the different ways. But there was there were a lot of feelings
Mm.
about people and toward people.
Mhm.
And we could have an entire conversation about all of those differences and,
Mhm.
what I think we should be doing around immigration reform. That's not what we're going to talk about, of course. Um, but I thought, how can I contribute to making people feel more welcome? Because there
Right.
are people in our community that want people who are new to our country, particularly if they are here as refugees or seeking asylum and, have fled from places that really were not very good, or their experience there was not good. We wanted them to know there's people in Cedar Rapids who are really glad you're here.
Mm-hmm.
And, I wanted to do that in a way that wasn't just writing a check, right? Which is
Right.
important,
It
and I do
is.
that too.
Yes.
But a friend of mine, Ann Duggar, who is the executive director, another Ann, who is
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
executive director of the Catherine McCauley Center. We were
Mm-hmm.
having lunch, and she was talking to me about some different volunteer opportunities, and one of them was to tutor some of their clients in English.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I was an education major at one point in college, but that was a long time ago. Like, I don't have that background. That's okay. We'll teach you. And we're
Mm-hmm.
starting from the very beginning. So, anyway, I did that for about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really amazing opportunity
I bet it was.
to understand and learn at the same time I was trying to help someone learn English.
Mm-hmm.
The student I worked with the most worked all day in a factory, and
Mm-hmm.
then at 5:30 would come to Catherine McCauley for an hour of tutoring.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, how do you work all day and then come and do this?
And then probably have to
And
take care of a family as well. I
right,
mean,
right,
so they go home and it's another shift of sorts. So yeah.
right. And so I would like to get back into that. And there are many
Mm-hmm.
other ways that we can help individuals who are new to this country, whether it's through our churches or food banks or Catherine McCauley Center.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the Catherine McCauley Center has just taken a big cut in their federal
Yeah.
funding and have had to lay off, I think, something like half of their staff.
Yes.
But the need does not go away.
It does not.
And so that's something I would encourage anyone, regardless of what your feelings are about the US's immigration system,
Right.
is to think, how can I be helpful to people who are new to our community? Whether
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be here for a couple of weeks or
Mm-hmm.
whether they're going to stay here, put down roots, and eventually be multi-generation families in our community. What's something I can do? And it might be write
Yeah.
a check, it might be donating some food or clothes, it might
Mm-hmm.
be working with some of their clients to prepare for the citizenship exam. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, how cool would that be,
I
right?
mean, could I pass it? I don't know.
I mean, I've read some of the questions and I'm like, I'm glad I was born here because I would never know the answer to that.
Right, right. That is so interesting and such an important message. And especially right now, they do need a lot of community support. So I hope that people who listen to this take that. And again, sure, you can send money. They need money, but they also need support. And they need to know that Iowa Nice is a thing. We really are a caring, nice state who believes in them and believes in their future as much as our own. So
Well,
thank you
and
for
our
sharing
state
that.
has, you're welcome. And our state has a very long history of welcoming refugees. I'm going to
Yes.
go way back to people, it's before probably most people who are listening to us were born. But
Right.
in the 1970s, from the Vietnam War, there were refugees escaping Southeast Asia from Laos and some other countries in that area, and no states would take them.
Hmm.
But our governor at the time, Governor Robert Ray, uh, said, we will take them for some of those very same reasons that these
Hmm.
are our values. These are our
Right.
values. And so I don't remember how many it was. It was several thousand. Um, but then, and at the time, and probably still, a jurisdiction is limited to how many people the federal government want to ask them to take because they don't want you to take more than you can handle. Um, but there was still need. And so Governor Ray went back to the federal government and said, we'll take more.
Wow. I had no idea.
And yeah, yeah. And
That
so
is
it's
so cool.
fascinating to hear about that. And not everyone was on board, but a lot of people were. And part of it was around leadership, that the leader of our state said, these individuals need someone to help them, and we can
Mhm.
be those people. And not to make this about party politics at
Right,
all,
right, right, right.
but Governor Ray was a Republican.
Interesting.
So this is not
Mic drop.
limited.
No, I'm just kidding.
These issues are not limited by what letter you have behind your name as a politician, right? Um, all politicians can and do good things. We just wish they would all do more good things, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
we have a lot to be proud of as a state for, I mean, this was in the 70s. And
Right.
again, no other states were doing it, but
Hmm.
Iowa did.
Amazing. A history lesson.
Right?
Yay. Well, I
Mhm.
was just at the Capitol this week because it was Realtor Day on the Hill. And so we were there and it doesn't, I do not take it lightly, the beauty of that building and the history and everything that we have to be proud of. I just wish that, again, we could come together a little bit more with our likes than our differences, because there's so much that we have to be proud of here in our state. And the Capitol building, if you've never been, please go, but it is just beautiful. And I assume you did a lot of work there when you were in Des
Is
Moines.
it is one of the most beautiful state capitals, I think. But you're absolutely right. And I wish we could have more people working on things together. And I think one of the puzzle pieces of that is meeting people where they're at.
I'm not going to say amen, but I want to say amen. Amen. So I just think that this has been so important, so impactful, so inspiring, and just again, spreading good news. We need all the good news we can get. So we do have time for this. So I would like to have you show me what your favorite thing is right now.
Well, this goes back to something you said in when you were introducing me. And I bought this piece of artwork when from a street vendor in Washington, D.C. when I lived there. And it says, "Go everywhere, talk to everyone, eat everything."
Oh, it's
Uh-oh.
blurring. There you go. I got it. Oh, it's so cute.
And I actually started by gifting that to a friend, and so we kind of always say that as when we're ready to end our conversation is go everywhere, talk to everyone, eat everything, and it's fun because you do. I mean, I probably shouldn't be eating everything, but I love talking to people. It's like we'll be at a thrift store and I'll be just talking to somebody in the aisle, and friends
Well,
are
why
like, "Oh
not?
gosh, are you talking to people again, Chris?" But it's fascinating.
But why not? And you know what? Thinking I was uh using the ladies' room when we were at this event, and this gal, I had my pink, oh, I don't have them on. I had my pink frames on, and she's like, "Oh my God, I love your glasses." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I love your hair." And it was genuine and it was honest and it was that's that really put a what is it? A smile on my face for sure. And I think it did hers too, because she had these like little sparkly things in her hair. And I was just like, and it's that easy. Let's find the good. Let's do the things. Let's be open to talking, going everywhere. And I'm all for eating everything. My body is not for it, but eat everything that you can. Absolutely, absolutely. Just so I want to share my favorite thing as well because a couple weeks ago, I lost my dad and my father passed away. And I had 2 weeks ago, I had a celebration of life ceremony for him. And my friends showed up and made my heart like grow 10 sizes bigger just from being here. A lot of them didn't know my dad, because of whatever. My dad and I were kind of like oil and water a lot of the times, but we're very similar as well. And one thing that I can say is that I have grown my community, and it was because of the reason that my family wasn't always filling that bucket for me, but my friends are. So I am so lucky. I have so many wonderful friends that are like family to me. So favorite thing for for sure was just being in the room with all of those people that love me and my son and my husband and my nieces. And it was just, it has to be said. But my other favorite thing is one of my friends and she owns the Moss Plants shop in Czech Village. And she gifted me this beautiful little succulent in a little pot. Now, I'm not great at succulents. I'm not going to lie, because I always feel like they're going to need water and they don't need water, but I feel like I need to water them. So right now it's going great. Anne, thank you so much for this. And her store in the Czech Village, Moss Plant Shop, so cute. Always brings me joy and definitely a favorite place for me to go. So that is that. So we do have a few minutes. Is there anything else that you want to share or say, or just do you have a joke?
I never
Before we
remember the
wrap up?
jokes.
I
I
same.
never remember jokes. Yeah.
Same. I'm always like, oh, wait, that was the punchline. And I say it first. So, no, I get it. I get it.
I am just so happy to be back in Cedar Rapids after being away for 20 years. And that has surprised a couple of people that I'm so
I'm
happy to be
surprised.
back.
I'm surprised because
And
you lived this life of like, Washington, D.C. and to come back, that had to have been a big change for you. But we are so glad you're back. That's for sure.
well, thank you. I was ready. I was ready. I loved my time there.
Yeah.
Just like anywhere, there's things that you don't like about it.
Right.
Um, but it was time. It was time to be back. And I have just been so happy reconnecting with family and friends and meeting new people and trying new restaurants and
And
you
it's
know
changed quite a bit since you were, lived here, before. So we do have some culture and some great restaurants, and
mm,
our support local businesses. We have plenty of them to support. So um, I think that is that's a plus for when you move back to know that you still won't lose that sense of variety, I guess, right?
and I can always travel if I want what's in DC or
Absolutely.
Chicago or wherever. And I can always find a
Absolutely.
parking spot here.
Which is probably huge.
I
And it
love
doesn't
that.
take you an hour to get somewhere. Another
I did
plus.
have to relearn that. Yeah. I've also found a really nice community in the condominium building I'm living in, which has
Yeah.
been very, very nice. And so that's something I haven't experienced when I've lived in other
Right.
multifamily buildings. I might
Hmm.
know who my neighbor is, but that's about it.
Hmm.
Or just know them by sight. But getting involved with the homeowners association and just getting to know the neighbors has been really nice.
And there have been some icons that live there. So you are in good company as far as icons of Cedar Rapids that have lived there. I love that building. I absolutely love it. So, and I just got to see it for the first time like a couple of years ago when I showed it. And I was like, you want to see that? Yes, but I don't even know how to get in. It was kind of hard to get in, but once I got in, I didn't want to leave.
Well, and I don't think we said where it is,
No,
but
no, we
it's
did not. We will not. But
oh,
I
okay.
sure, oh yeah, no, we don't, we want to be mindful and
Serious, right?
safe,
But
right? And I
but
mean, if you
there
want to know, you can look it up. It's
there are
iconic.
units available. There are
Oh,
units
yes,
available if
I
you're
know.
interested in a mid-century high-rise condominium living.
With a pool.
Yes.
I do
Yes.
like that pool. I do like that pool. Well, Chris Taylor, thank you so much for your time today. We're going to make sure that we are following, at least following Catherine McCauley Center here in our community, trying to take those volunteer opportunities up because it's so easy. I know everyone thinks they're so busy and they can't fit anything else in. But honestly, some of the things that they need are things you absolutely can do. And I bet some of your employers out there would also welcome you to do that for them. So, or as my friend mentioned, you can always ask your employer if they'll match whatever you're donating. So there are ways to make an impact on these neighbors that need our help right now. And so that's really what I wanted to recap. And I can't say this without being cheesy. Don't forget to like, follow, and share. Not Your Average Neighbor. We will be here every Wednesday sharing good news and good people in our community. Bye, neighbor.